talk about objectives. Here's where a lot of people get hung up. They kind of write their objectives either as goals, kind of like overly ambitious, or they write them as activities, like to do one thing. Now, as an objective, it has to be SMART. And you've heard me talk about this before. You might even know what the acronym is, but let's go ahead and break it down one more time. Hello there, it's Holly Rustick with Grant Writing and Funding, and I'm super excited to help you as a grant writer write better grants. And also all you nonprofit leaders out there to get more funding for your nonprofits. And for those of you who are thinking about transitioning into freelance grant writing or to grow your business, I've got resources for you. Today, we're going to be talking about grants. We're going to be talking about how to write a goal in a grant. This is so important. And we're also going to talk about how to write an objective and how to make sure you have your activities all straightened out. Now, this is glorious magic, and you are definitely going to want to know this is one of the major sections of a grant, usually worth the most points. So you're definitely going to want to tune in today. Before we get there, please do hit subscribe and follow us, as that does help other people find our YouTube channel and deliver more resources for you, so you get notifications when we drop new episodes. All right, let's talk about the goal of a grant. Now, we're definitely going to want to talk about what is the main outcome that you're looking to achieve. But remember, you have to ground this goal as well in looking at what is the monies that you're able to ask for in a grant, because those are finite, and how long do you have to achieve it? Because many grants are done under duration, maybe 1 year. Sometimes US federal grants can be 3 years or 5 years, but you need to know this information to know how ambitious your goal can be. However, you're gonna need some type of change to happen, and it can be a little broader because we're going to anchor these in your objectives. But before we get to objectives, we just wanna make sure your goal is really something that you can achieve. If we're looking at increasing access for people in recovery to recovery services, you want to have something that's a little ambitious, that has some type of change, and it also needs to reflect your problem, right? And we've talked about the problem statement before. You can definitely check it out here, where we talk about how to do your research on that. And basically, once you have your problem statement, you need to flip it around so you have your goal. All right, so now let's talk about objectives. Here's where a lot of people get hung up. They kind of write their objectives either as goals, kind of like overly ambitious, or they write them as activities, like to do one thing. Now, as an objective, it has to be SMART. And you've heard me talk about this before. You might even know what the acronym is, but let's go ahead and break it down one more time. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant or realistic, and time-bound. Now, these are all important because when you're writing an objective, you really need to be clear on that objective. So for example, project name will provide daily transportation for 10 individuals in recovery to recovery services in City X by the end of year 1. Now you might sound like, oh my gosh, Holly, that sounds kind of long. It is, and it's not. It's a very specific, and you're saying a lot in one sentence. And here's the cool thing, it's specific, right? You're gonna do what? Provide daily transportation for 10 individuals in recovery to recovery services in a certain city, right? And you're gonna do that in 1 year. So we have our time duration there. We also have ability to measure things, how many people, to what types of services, by when. So there's definitely a few different layers and components to be measured. And then, is it achievable, you might ask? Well, if that is also our problem, right, that people don't have transportation services, and if I said, if I'm gonna reach 1,000 people, but I only have 100 people in my program, that's probably not achievable, right? So we do wanna hit some number that has a layer of achievability to it. And the other way to know if this is really achievable is when we get to our budget, right? So to make sure our budget can support what we want to do. And is it relevant? Well, if it fits your goal and if it reverses your problem statement, yeah, it's definitely relevant. And do we have time bound there? Yeah, we said by the end of year 1, right? And I'm just gonna throw a little grant hack at you right here. Definitely use things by the end of this month, by the end of the year, like year 1, year 2, because sometimes if we say by April 15th, 2025, right? Well, sometimes if you're using specific dates instead of by the end of month 3, right? By the end of year 1, that's a little bit more, it's still specific, but it leads it so if your grant gets approved, but there's some delays in it, then you don't have to rework your entire time schedule. It's by the end of the month 3 that your grant gets awarded. You see? So that's just a little side hack for you. So definitely you can see how this is an objective because I can answer, is it SMART, right? Is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it achievable? Is it relevant? And is it time bound? When I can say, yes, I can answer each one of those, I know that's an objective. Another way that you can easily understand if this is an objective, right, is to say, is it going to take more than one moving part or one task to accomplish this? And usually, yes, right? So if it's just one thing, that's usually an activity. So let's break down how you would then put activities. So you can see our goal is here, right? It's ambitious. We want to deliver these services. We want to make sure that people in recovery have access to services, right? It's definitely going to flip our problem statement if there are no transportation to recovery services in this part of the city for these people, right? That's definitely a problem. So the goal is the opposite of the problem statement. And the objective is a very strategic way on how you're going to reach that goal, right? But like I said, if it's a proper objective, then it needs tasks and activities underneath it so you can reach the objective. All right, so let's look at how you then put your task. And what I like to do is put my task in a work plan. So I need to make sure I put what the task is, who's responsible for the task, when it's going to start, when it's going to end, and how it's going to be evaluated. Right? So when you can do that, you're creating a work plan. And this work plan you could hand to anyone that never even was a part of writing the grant. Maybe you're going to hire a program manager to carry out certain tasks for this grant. You could literally hand them the work plan and they know exactly what to do. So why do funding sources like this model? Because when I have a work plan, when I have a very SMART objective, when I have a goal that is going to undo the problem, it's going to flip it on its head, right? Then I'm excited. I know that you're going to be able to implement a project. And that's one of the things that grant funding sources want to know is, can you implement a project? The other thing is, can you manage money? We're gonna get there in our next episode, but let's go ahead and hang out here for a second. Let me give you some examples for my work plan. So our objective example, once again, is project name will provide daily transportation for 10 individuals in recovery to recovery services in City X by the end of year 1. One of our tasks could be hire a driver. Who's responsible? The project manager. When is it going to start? Month 1. When is it going to complete? Month 3. How are you going to evaluate that it gets completed? A contract's going to be signed. Super easy. That's how you would build up that work plan to show the task response or the actual task description, the role responsible, start date, completion date, and how you're going to evaluate that that task can actually be accomplished. So another example is a task description could be purchase a minivan. Who's responsible? The project manager. When will they start? Month 3. When will they complete that task? Month 3. And how are they going to evaluate that that gets done? The title is going to be secured for the vehicle, right? So you can definitely, it's simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. You want to make it as simple as possible. But I hope you can see how powerful this is. Remember, grant writing is like a puzzle. And when you have the framework that we deliver, our grants formula, you can definitely be able to relax and be less stressed out because you will have a formula that is simple to use and that you can apply to any grant. All right, that's what I have for you today. So be sure to check out our free grant writing class that goes over our entire grant formula, and you get a free workbook. You can check it out below. All right, good luck on your grant writing and business success.